Hello, you are with OnEBoard home series today, and we are very pleased to have Sofia Lyateva with us. Sofia, please present yourself.
Hello, everyone. Again, thank you for the invitation. I'm Sofia Lyateva. I'm an import brand expert at an IT company called DevExperts, and I'm also the main organizer of Go Developers Group Sofia and Women Techmakers Sofia. Generally speaking, I do like go on vacations and adventures every once in a while. But my mission in life is, besides working with people and lifting them up, is to basically try to make the world, or at least my corporate environment, a better place.
Thank you so much. Today, our moderator is Monica. So, Monica, please go on with our interview.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you, Nina. Welcome, Sophia, to our Sunday talk. It's our special Sunday talk. And our title with the home series is connected to our online home. And it's especially with a new meaning and importance in these times of pandemic. So I would like to know first, you are settled in so many platforms and tools and softwares all around the internet. What is your home, your online home? How do you feel there, and what is a special thing you're enjoying or bring into this online home?
Well, first, I would like to say that I do use many of the common platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. So I try to keep when I started having so many profiles online, I was trying to keep them separated in some way. Like, this is for my passion, this is professional, this is personal. But now it's kind of a mix. Like, I feel like even my network of people is kind of like a pool of people that either want to learn something, or they're curious about what I'm up to. So what I'm trying to share mostly in LinkedIn is strictly professional, strictly regarding my work life and my communities sometimes, because I know many of our target audience is there as well. But I mostly use Facebook and Instagram, where Instagram is, I'm all up for stories. I'm like a story addict there. So I do try to keep it active, but it's kind of an addiction currently. But at the same time, I do not like just post, like I every morning kind of have this, tradition of going back in time. So I just, on this day, see what I've posted, and like, I'm either feeling nostalgic, or it gives me ideas about what to do this day. Facebook, since it's like in Bulgaria is quite popular, is still the most popular social network in Bulgaria. There I post literally everything from my music to statuses that are kind of trying to make you laugh, because Facebook is overflooded. Like, we use it as a main resource of information. So whatever happens on the news, you see them shared. So you see somebody's comment, somebody's negativity there, and it's quite present because it's trolling platform basically. So what I usually post there, mostly like funny statuses, like it's either related to work or not, but it's just generally like making you laugh, and that's what I like about it. Twitter, I mostly use on international conferences when I attend them, or because I know that the network that I have there is mostly from Women Techmakers, the Google events, and so on. So trying to keep them updated about these opportunities and these networking events that are happening in Bulgaria, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a really wide area of engagement.
I cover it all. Yeah. I used to be a social media. So I started my career as a social media consultant. So I had to be everywhere at that point, and I had to experiment with all of them. So I just now keep them up to date whenever I have the time to.
Yeah, so you're really at home in social media.
Absolutely.
Okay, so besides Nina, there is Bob and Peggy who really have questions, but please let's start with Nina. She is just eager to ask you something.
Yes. Sophia, I want to focus on employer branding. And my question is, what are the priority activities of a brand nowadays, especially at present? Can you make a list of priority activities essential to each brand?
I feel like now brands are always or always have been targeting people, and targeting people's feelings. So now that we live in these unprecedented times as COVID-19, now it shouldn't be so much about selling stuff. It's like being mindful of the people that you're selling to. So it's kind of always about emotions. I believe that brands are always about emotions. And I myself, I'm a very emotional person. So that's why I do like what I'm doing with my life professionally. But at the same time, I believe that we should not take advantage of people during these times. So I believe that now brands should focus on their builders, and brands are built by the people that are in those brands. So the stakeholders, the employees, everybody who is already an active supporter or a promoter of that brand, and do not like try to engage extra people, but try to improve the people that you have within this brand, and make sure that these people really still associated with your brand, even though these times are tough. And for example, regardless if your brand is like a consumer's or it's either a commercial one or not, but it's very, very important to make sure that your people are engaged, though your people are still actively supporting your brand regardless of the situation. And I feel that I felt this locally because we had locally in Bulgaria, we had this initiative about support your local brand, where we were trying like small businesses, like trying to encourage them. So instead of going to the supermarket and like do the shopping from there, you were trying to like buy from the small businesses that are actually gasping to survive in these tough times. And it was amazing because it was on Instagram, and we could actually promote this local business. And we know, like, for example, this food is amazing, and these people deliver safely to your house, taking all preventative measures and so on. And it is just an example of how we can all take care of the brands that we care about. And I believe if you're a brand that nobody cares about, no matter what you do, you will not be able to engage your people unless you ask them how to engage them and why they associate with your brand.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. I completely resonate with your answer. And human-centric is all the time what I'm working also with my clients. They find it strange to talk on camera about how they support their people. It's quite new for some of the brands, but slowly, and like Bob often mentions the paradox of COVID has actually helped a better process in this aspect. And my second question is about Google communities. Do you think that in digital transformation of occupations, which now happened like rocketing for many people, Google could have Google communities globally and Google communities locally could have leadership role?
It's really a tough question. I would say that we could definitely contribute. I would say that as an active organizer, so I still feel quite engaged by the Google coordinators that are trying to like make sure that our communities stay alive. They give us, for example, an extension period of organizing before closing us. For example, they're, for example, trying to distribute Google developer experts or Google employees to be featured online in webinars on local community events. So definitely, I believe that we could be leaders. We could be leaders in local IT communities. But it really depends on the local IT ecosystem, I believe, because in Bulgaria we are like an IT hub. We have been for the past 10 years at least, of IT talents, top IT talents, and everybody is trying to hunt them down, right? So we do have active IT communities. However, the common, and for me the most important thing is that I believe that our Google communities in Bulgaria definitely played a very important role in this IT ecosystem. And it was the fact that we were trying to merge these communities in common events, doing them together, and we still do that. For example, I still have for example, from Sofia JS, DevBG, and so on, other communities, they're trying to like, can you please promote this? And you don't ask, why should I do this? We just do it because we know that these people are sharing really good knowledge, and they are actually kind of like, I would say, they want us to support them because they know that our Google community has really good audience. We have really good community, top developers that are within their target audience, and we would not be able to do that or provide them with these resources that we have if it wasn't for our community building skills and the fact that Google is actually helping us in giving all these resources to us to actually have this knowledge and people to be engaged with the Google Developers Group, for example.
That sounds positive, like optimistic. Thank you so much.
I hope. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of the Googlish, how we talk usually also with our Google Product Experts program. The Googlish stuff is still with us. It's part of us, like passionate supporters of Google.
And you know that the first time that we actually launched Women Techmakers, which was a year after I joined Google Developers Group, because I got invited to the first Women Tech Summit in, it was Prague, I believe. And it was the first one for me, at least, but I was brainstorming like why and how I can do this Women Techmakers community in Bulgaria. And I started doing research and all this. I saw all these other women in tech communities active, but I did not want to like get in their way. I wanted to unite them. And actually last year we launched Go For It, which is like Go For IT, but you get opens intended. So Go For It is actually a collaborative community of all active women in tech communities in Bulgaria. And it would not have happened if I did not invite them for International Women's Day, which was like 2 years ago. And we organized it all together, all women in tech. So it is kind of like we built this team of women organizers, and we are still active. Like we have the chat, we are every once in a while we do this video calls all together, like brainstorming, like what is the next event, and yeah, and this community actually came to being because we actually managed, the Google communities managed to like hold hands with all these other women in tech communities and organize this together.
So Sofia, let me start with an easy question, okay? So I did comment that you have an excellent command of English, and I noticed on one of your slides that the fourth most important person in your Dev Experts meeting is the English teacher. So can you just briefly tell us why that is?
Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, we have these speaker clubs where we are trying to like make people be more at ease when speaking on online events, right? and not only online, offline events as well. But generally, we have these international distributed teams. So many of our colleagues are not native English speakers. So they would like to improve their English knowledge. And what they do, what we do is organize these English classes for all of them. So usually it was not an active class online for all employees, but since the COVID-19 situation, more and more people tuned in for these classes, and that's why you see it as the fourth most talked. They had like so many classes together with the students, because they are like different levels, like and they had like a lot of job to do, our English teachers, and trying to making sure that we still do not leave this initiative behind, so colleagues would still be able to improve their English regardless. And it is actually these online webinars, and the fact that people were actually required to talk to so many people online and colleagues from other locations. I think that it actually even inspired them to go to English classes to improve their knowledge and be more effective when communicating with colleagues from other locations. Because English is the official language between ourselves, regardless of the location of the office.
Yeah, good answer. Thanks. And it's kind of neat to know how people in different countries are basically trying to obviously communicate with other people. So hopefully that English is a language that ties everybody together. So for the second question I have, and this is kind of loaded, but what is a current tech development that you view as positive, that you are A, passionate about, that B, lifts people up, and C, might be good for the world in general? Is there, That's right. I want you to solve all of our problems here. Okay. So if you could just talk to that briefly, that'd be great.
I would say that maybe I wanted to do something about it actively during the quarantine. We had this when the state of emergency came to Bulgaria. We had some of the Bulgarian startup communities organize this Hack the Crisis hackathon, where various people could just go into Slack, find their teams, and just join a team that they're passionate about some service or something that would help the community and our fellow Bulgarians locally. And I cannot say globally what tech development I would support, but definitely there were like a lot of very, very nice initiatives. Mine was, for example, Hero Courier, which is a delivery service for all risk groups of people that cannot, for example, you cannot make your grandma go to the store because of all these active cases of COVID-19, and it was a really, really dangerous place to be, even with masks on or whatever. So we wanted to create this service where people could, from the safety of their home, could have their food and most basic needs delivered to them. But at the same time, we wanted to also help local businesses. So we did not want to work with supermarkets. We wanted to work with local shops, so that if you're living in this neighborhood, you know that you're actually getting the food from this shop that's usually you go to when you're not under quarantine. And we also wanted to make sure people have some job as well. So we opened this platform for people who want to be delivery men or women. So you could actually apply to deliver, for example, for your neighborhood. And what else we also launched within this was, for example, if you know that you have this grandma living next door, but none of her family is taking care of her, you could order food for her. And so we had like this charity initiative within the platform. So it was it was really nice idea. I'm not sure that it would actually they would make it happen completely, but it was nice to actually help improve and deliver this concept, business concept even. Generally, if there is a global tech development, I would support is the ones that are taking care of mental health and generally the well-being of people, because I believe that these pandemic times are actually making you question a lot of stuff about yourself. I personally feel myself quite self-aware, but at the same time, even I had like trouble focusing, staying productive, not being depressed or anxious about what's coming next. So I believe that if there is like one tech innovation I would definitely support, would be the one that's making people feel better about themselves and making them feel okay with this situation, at least until it goes away. Thank you, Bob, for this question. It actually is fun.
Good answer. Thank you.
Well, Peggy, I hope you are able to unmute you now and we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Woo!
wonderful.
That's the downside of the online discussions.
Well,
There's always technical issues.
Let's go.
So I'm interested in, you talked about being in the Women Techmakers group and networking with other women in technology. I'm wondering how that influenced your career path and how that influenced you as you do your job.
As I do my job, I would say that I'm definitely the greatest supporter of diversity and inclusion at the workplace. That's something that if it was not for Women Tech Makers, I would not be so aware of it. At the same time, I'm also the person, I'm not just import brand expert, sounds very wide, but I'm also very, the things that I'm doing in the communities and the things that I do at work are kind of like, there's some things that are kind of coming together, like helping speakers speak in front of public and so on, and encouraging them, helping them with their presentation from starting point, like how to pick the topic, how to deliver the topic, to the final touches of the presentation itself. So all this I'm doing with Google Communities, but I'm also doing it within my job. And what I feel is like whenever I see a new colleague that is a woman, I'm always like, oh my God, so what is your job description? So what is your previous job experience? So how do you feel about going on events? Like how do you feel about sharing your know-how and so on? Another thing that I've noticed is like all of us, or a lot of women in tech, are struggling with the imposter syndrome. And this is again something that I might not be aware if it was not for Women Tech Makers, because we talk so much about it on our common events within Women Tech Makers. We also have this workshop that I've personally had taken to be a facilitator at I Am Remarkable, which is again about personal branding, which is helping women and underrepresented groups to speak and be themselves and go over this barrier. And I would say that doing that, how it also influenced my career, I believe it made me a more attractive candidate for a lot of employers, and that's for sure, because of these connections to the network, to this IT ecosystem. So I, for example, am organizer of this and this, but at the same time, that's if you hire me, that's potential audience for you, kind of for free. But I'm trying not to mix it, you know, like I'm trying not to take advantage of my communities because of the work that I do or the field. And I actually talked to other Women Tech Makers and Google Developers Group organizers from different locations in Europe, and they were all like this, you know, like, so they hired me because I'm an organizer of Google Developers Group. And on the one side, it's really cool that people are noticing that we're doing this stuff actually completely out of our passion, and not because we are getting anything from Google. We are just doing it because we're passionate about sharing knowledge, exposing this network of people to different know-hows, to these resources of getting the information first from Google about innovations and demos or beta testing of applications before they actually go live. So all this cool stuff that we can do. And we were discussing it, like none of us are like, all of us are kind of taking a stand, like I'm not selling my communities for my job, you know. So I'm trying to keep them separate most of the time. But when I'm too busy finding like someone to sponsor my local offline events, like buying beer and pizza, that's the only time where I use this resource that I have, like, okay, I have this job, so I'm just going to put this in my budget and I'm going to be a supporter of this. But at the same time, I'm not starting the events with, hey, I'm here to talk about dev experts. No, I'm starting the events, community events, with community topics and stuff that concern the community. And then eventually mention that the pizza and beer is from this company, you know. But and that's always what I'm trying to say to other companies, because we all constantly get online inquiries about, can you promote this? We want to attract more women into our workplace and stuff like that. And I'm saying, like, this is not how we work. If you'd like to expose your brand within our communities, then you have to give us some knowledge, some speaker, if you'd like somebody to share their story that could eventually mention something about you as an employer, but that's about it. Like, I'm not actively promoting your vacancies on my community channels.
That sounds great. It's really encouraging to me to hear about all these great organizations for women that are about learning new skills and learning new information and learning how to present yourself, and not just sort of a job market, which can be off-putting to a lot of people and isn't quite the same sort of supportive environment. So that's excellent. The other thing I wanted to ask is, you talked about how your company is offering all of these options for people, yoga and coffee breaks and things like that, which is really excellent, especially when people are working from home and you're kind of isolated. But I'm wondering about some of the people I know, especially with small children, are actually really overwhelmed working at home, because now they're in a situation, instead of going to work and doing work, they are now at home and they are expected to be the teacher for their children, because the children can't be in the Zoom classes all day long. They have a spouse who's also trying to work from home, and it's really kind of almost too much. They feel like they're actually busier working from home than they were when they were going into the office. And I'm wondering how your company works to help families like that, especially, or anyone who's feeling kind of overwhelmed by being at home.
Well, yeah, thank you for that question. It was really tough. So as I mentioned in my presentation, we were trying to do this drawing contest where we were just like trying to keep the children busy. However, I noticed that a lot of, at least most of our locations have really good educational systems. So they were quite easily prepared to go online with the studying and so on. But I've also noticed, like, locally, we have a lot of colleagues with kids, some of them very young, some of them are in high school or primary school. So they were struggling. I would say that they were struggling. But I believe that in these coffee breaks, like, we were trying to, like, okay, so how are you feeling? And you're like, can you show me the mess? And for example, we have our VP sales. She has a youngster, and she's like, check out the mess. So it was crazy, but it's strictly individual. I believe that we give enough flexibility to our employees to manage this work-life balance. So as even our CEO extended this work from home environment, like it could continue as long as you are feeling okay working from home, taking care of your children. Just make sure you answer colleagues' needs, or whenever you have like job responsibilities, you take care of them. However, nobody strictly is micromanaging. So the most important thing is to get the job done at the end of the day. How you structure the workflow depends on you. We give all the resources we could give to make sure that you stay engaged with your family as well. So even what I actually received some feedback about yoga and stretches. As I mentioned, there was like an open comment section. So many of the colleagues said that they were doing the yoga all together. So it was like a family activity. So he said, like, my wife and my kids, we are doing the yoga all together, and it was amazing because I was like, yes, that's what I wanted to see. That's what I wanted to get. Of course, youngsters are very hard to manage, so there definitely was some struggles. So they cannot paint yet, so the drawing contest would not work for them. But yes, as I mentioned, enough flexibility was the way to go.
That's great. I mean, I think the flexibility that you talked about is really important because from what I've seen, a lot of the stress people are having are trying to make working from home be sort of exactly the same way it was as working from an office in terms of, the timing and, working continuous hours. And it just can't be that people work the same way and their kids are at home, so their kids can't be the same way. So that sounds really good. And I like that you mentioned that, the VP will show her mess, because I think there's a real pressure sometimes, have everything look good on camera, make sure everything seems perfect. And it's good to know not everyone has a little mess somewhere that they're doing.
Of course, I don't, for example, have children, but I did adopt a dog at the beginning of the quarantine. So,
Comes near.
so I could feel like more in their place. So I did have to take a walk twice a day. So I could feel like more connected to the colleagues with kids. And it is kind of the same. Like, we already love each other so much. Like, I cannot imagine my life without her. Like, I was two weeks into the adoption, I was like, how did I live without a dog? so yeah.
Okay, thank you, Peggy, and thank you, Sophia, so far for your information about you and your work. It was really great. You have mentioned about the local IT communities, and you did not know why you did do all that work. Well, I think we all now know why you did it. You created a huge community and an engaging and supporting network. Everybody is enjoying it, I believe. And I just wrap up with diversity and inclusion. That's so important, and not only for special people, but exactly for women. Still they need some inclusion. Well, let me add one thought about the speakers you mentioned, the speakers corners and speakers roles and engagement. It's so important to get rid of all that fear that we grow with during our school time. So I just can confirm your attempt to keep up these speakers language classes, so that people get rid of all the beholds they have and just speak. Maybe improving some tools, some language aspects, but speaking with no fear. That's the most important thing, I think. I mean, that's what I tell as a non-native English speaker, like you are. But your English is way better than mine.
Oh, no,
so I'd like to wrap up this session and maybe we can have you once again. I don't know when, but I would like to, and I think I speak for all our participants here. So thank you very much, Sofia.
Thank you, Nina, Monica, Bob, and Peggy. You were amazing. I would gladly be here again. So yeah, it was really nice conversation and the perfect end of this week. Thanks to you.
And a perfect beginning of the next week. And everyone who's watching us, please subscribe to our channel and watch Connect with Sofia. Links are below the video. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.